Hi everyone, one verse today, Proverbs chapter 6 verse 27. Can a man embrace fire and his clothes not be burned? This is the word of the Lord. I heard a shocking story today about a man in the UK who was sent on a business trip. He went to another city for his company, and on the first night there, he rang up for a prostitute to visit his room, and there was a knock on his door. It was the prostitute arriving, and he opened the door, and the prostitute was his own daughter, and he starts having a heart attack. He's in such shock. Now, we live in a culture that is obsessed with sex. Ever since the sexual revolution, it's been crazy, and all the ways that sexual sin is celebrated in our media and encouraged. And then you sometimes hear stories like that. It just illustrates the folly of it. I mean, that's a pretty extreme story, but it illustrates the folly of it. And Proverbs chapter 6, from halfway through Proverbs chapter 6, the theme of avoiding sexual sin comes up again. And once again, the father is speaking to his son, Solomon is speaking to his son, and warning him away from the adulteress. And we need to remember, of course, that there are many positive female characters in the book of Proverbs. The adulteress is a negative one. Madam Folly is a negative one, but there are lots of positive women in Proverbs as well. But it also is a bit strange, isn't it? Because, we read the Bible as men and women. And here we have a father warning his son, but we don't have him warning his daughter. And I thought it would be worth mentioning that there is a concern in the Bible about the kind of, there are adulterous men who are wicked as well. For example, in 2 Timothy chapter 3, we hear about people in the last days being lovers of self, lovers of money, boastful, proud, blasphemous, disobedient to parents, ungrateful, unholy, unloving, irreconcilable, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, without love, and on it goes. They hold to a form of religion but deny its power. Avoid these people. And then verse 6 says this: For among them are those who worm their way into households and capture idle women burdened down with sins, led along by a variety of passions. That is, they find the women who are vulnerable, the women who are idle, and they are sexually unfaithful with them, and they hurt these women. They damage these women. There are wicked men in this area as well. Here the father is warning his son against wicked women, but the Bible is very clear there are wicked men in this area as well. The first thing I want to do, I just want to read this second half of chapter 6 with you and just note it makes such sense. My son, keep your father's command and don't reject your mother's teaching. The mother is another good woman in Proverbs, isn't she? Always bind them to your heart, tie them around your neck. When you walk here and there, they will guide you. When you lie down, they will watch over you. When you wake up, they will talk to you. For a commandment is a lamp. Teaching is a light. That's a lovely illustration, isn't it? That teaching is like light to see by. Without teaching and wisdom, we're walking in the darkness. And then, corrective instructions are the way to life. Remember, wisdom is life. And then our theme picks up, verse 24. They will protect you from an evil woman, from the flattering tongue of a stranger. Don't lust in your heart for her beauty, or let her captivate you with her eyelashes. There's a power that this particular evil woman can have in being deceptively attractive. But then he goes on to say this, verse 26. For a prostitute's fee is only a loaf of bread, but an adulteress goes after your very life. Now, the author of Proverbs, Solomon, is not saying that it's fine and good to go and sleep with a prostitute. What he's saying is that when you sleep with a prostitute, it costs you a meal, and she's in it for the meal. But when you commit adultery, the adulteress actually threatens your entire life. Why? Verse 27, can a man embrace fire and his clothes not be burned? I read today in the commentary I've been reading, and he said, as a pastor, I've never had someone come to me and say, I'm so glad I committed adultery. It's the best thing I've ever done. But I had so many come to me in tears saying, I wish I could relive that moment and make the right choice because of the misery that this has brought upon me. Can a man walk on coals without scorching his feet? It's a really clear illustration. If you play with fire, you get burnt. If you commit adultery, you get burnt even worse. Verse 29, so it is with the one who sleeps with another man's wife. No one who touches her will go unpunished. And that word unpunished there, well, there's going to be almost always consequences in this life, punishment in this life for committing adultery, but certainly if not in this life, there will be a reckoning when the Lord returns. People don't despise the thief if he steals to satisfy himself when he's hungry. There are some sins that are not right, but they're understandable if you're starving. But if he's caught, he must pay 7 times as much. He must give up all the wealth in his house. However, the one who commits adultery lacks sense. It's just crazy. Whoever commits adultery destroys himself. He will get a beating and dishonour, and disgrace will never be removed. Why? Well, verse 34, for jealousy enrages a husband, and he will show no mercy when he takes revenge. He will not be appeased by anything or be persuaded by lavish gifts. When a man steals another man's wife or enters another couple's sexual space, it is an enraging offence. There is no way to make recompense for that. The first thing, I just wanted to read that with you and note with you, this just makes sense, doesn't it? This second half of Proverbs 6, everything it says, yep, we know from our experience, we know from stories we've heard, this makes perfect sense. Adultery is dumb. We hear stories on the media of men killing their wives' lovers and killing their wife and sometimes killing themselves. It's just such an enraging insult to commit adultery with another man's wife. And of course, women who are hurt in this way, when their husband is unfaithful to them, can be extremely angry as well. It is just not, it's wrong and it's dumb. Sin is wrong and it's stupid. And Proverbs 6 brings that out really clearly. But I just want to finish by sharing another thought with you. And sexual sin comes up a lot in Proverbs, and it comes up a lot in Proverbs chapter 1 to 9, if you like the grammar. Why in the grammar of heavenly wisdom do we hear so much about this? And this is Raymond Ortland's answer. He says this: the gospel reveals something we never would have known. We are men and women playing out a drama of human love over and over again because of who God is. Now, this wonderful truth, says Raymond, means many things. For starters, it means marriage is not just another mutation in human social development. Marriage is a divine creation pointing to something beyond us. A man and woman fall in love. They commit themselves with lifelong vows of faithfulness, uniting sexually, living life together till death do us part. It's all pointing to the mega love of Christ and his church. See Ephesians chapter 5, by the way, in love forever. A man and a woman loving one another display the ultimate story of the Son of God coming down to win to his heart, with great suffering, a bride from the wrong side of town. God created the universe for the purpose of telling that love story. Now, there's some things I really appreciate about that Raymond has shared in his commentary as he seeks to help us see how Proverbs leads us to the gospel. And of course, it is true that marriage is an illustration of Jesus' love for his church. So may the Lord help us to see that sin is wrong, sin is stupid, and sexual sin actually is a great it's a great illustration of the rejection of God on top of that to boot. But sexual faithfulness in marriage points to the faithfulness of God and gives glory to him. So may the Lord help us to honour him with our sexuality. Amen.